a sudden you hear no fire, and then you just think everyone is pre-aiming. We will take a quick look at some of the replays as well from that game here. This was a big battle as well, because this was Maestro winning the battle here on the Oasis on Sonics, and this was a little bit of a surprise here. A lot of people expecting big things from Sonics here down, but the first team fight we really saw them in, they just got overwhelmed.
You saw how close it was, though. It was just that final 1v1 scenario, and then we saw Team Secret just peppering everyone from the center of caves, and unfortunately not able to pick up some kills were forehead. And I think the longbow really showed how, we really saw in that lobby how strong the longbow can be in certain circles and certain situations, but we also saw how important it is to have those SMGs in the close combat.
And this is the position here. We were talking about Penta. They seem to have everything going their way, but as you say that, we then move on to the next replay, and look who are the team who are holding that high ground now. It is the team that not only made the play, the ballsy play to push up onto the top of the bones here and push Penta off of that power position. This is the team that ended up winning the game, and this, I think, is where all the kills went their way.
Look at how many angles they can be shot from behind this tiny little circle here, but they just relied on their sheer gun skill. And look, everyone's looking elsewhere. They're not looking at them. I don't know whether that's luck or whether it's just incredible positioning. They were able to get so many kills, and then they singled out the single player to ensure they were able to get at least top 2. And then the teamwork we saw in this final fight. XN's just backing off, taking the height, and being able to use the distractions as that opportunity was presented. They instantly jumped up top and started actually looking for a couple of kills.
NRG then with a decent placement in that game as well. We'll take a look at some of the replays from our second game here of Group B action. And this was one of those games, Dan, it seemed like with that particular circle that we had towards the end, a lot of teams were being caught on rotation, trying to push in. And we saw quite a lot of engagements across the duration of that particular game.
I mean, realistically, it was the weaponry decision that we saw from a lot of these teams that were able to help them in that late game. If you know that the circle is going to be in a situation like that around relay, you know there's going to be a lot of close quarter combat, so it's so important to have an R99. But also, when you know a circle has pushed that heavily towards one side of the map, there's going to be a lot of late rotations where people are going to be vulnerable from those longbow shots as well. So the longbow plus R99 was such a huge combination of weapons, but we also saw the devotion ripping through shields as well. I mean, some players are amazing when they're able to get a devotion with a turbocharger. However, if they're not able to get that devotion with turbocharger, we really see them struggle. But a couple of players actually picking that one up in this game.
789 again, just clutching up in these final moments. You'll see Mondo dropping, Ace dropping, 789 just cleaning house. And we're going to see the last player just popping through the portal, no shields whatsoever.
A game like that can easily propel one of the French teams up into the top 10.
I mean, this is definitely do or die territory, but because of like how concentrated that the elimination points were amongst the two top teams in Misfits and Virtus Pro, that actually leaves our middle of the pack anywhere between 5th and 10th open up to be able to just be overtaken by anyone in this lobby right now. I mean, we saw SSG with about 9 points propelled themselves into the top 8.
That's a great point, actually. So that almost like 5th through 15th means they're all going to be pretty evenly distributed thanks to how many points that we saw from Virtus Pro and Misfits to start. So a great point here. That leaves us up and sets us up for a wild match number 3 opportunity here. Space Station might be feeling okay, top 7 right now, but they got to perform. Meanwhile, the door's wide open for Team Liquid Blue and Fnatic EU.
I'd be super happy if they can kind of bring it out in the final game and get themselves back up in that top 10.
Oh, that'd be great. We're setting ourselves up for a great story here. We saw Zerg with the triple take putting in work. Awesome to see a sniper use that is not the longbow here at the Preseason Invitational. We've seen some G7 Scout use. We've seen a decent amount of triple take right there. But Zerg as an individual is one of the points leaders, at least top 5 in points, I believe, as he's been, damage done, as he's been really putting in work. So big shout out to Zerg.
And he's just a phenomenal young talent, right? It's a reason why that at 14 years of age, he was actually scouted out for Overwatch contenders. And if age weren't a restriction, he might have seen a lot more play.
He's humble as well. If we make it there, he says, to the grand finals, well, if they perform the way they have, something tells me they will make it there. Very great interview and well spoken from Reps. Gained a lot of respect. If you like humility in esports, you're a fan of Reps, because let me tell you, that was one of the most humble interviews I think I've seen. But taking a look at some replays from our series, 3 matches, of course, and that's why he talks about the importance of performing. He was disappointed with game 1 and 2 and his performance there, because really, 3 matches is not a ton. You can't slip up in more than 1 match, and TSM obviously didn't slip up in any of those matches. matches, but in his eyes they did.
But really, it comes down to when they get that kind of comfort end zone, where it's like it's their home. They've played it so many times in scrims. If you have a water treatment ending, you basically have to bet on TSM at that point. We saw them take, I believe, second up against Fnatic the last time there was a water treatment ending at X Games. I believe it was Game 12, the final game of that tournament.
Here you see here the TSM doing such a great job rotating as a team. You brought it up earlier, Jamerson, how they were okay giving away high ground, holding mid ground. Well, look how good a job they dominated, not only the mid ground, but also low ground, immediately rotating, dropping as a team, getting right back up to second level as soon as they wipe those kills. I mean, across the board, great gameplay here from TSM.
And touching on Gen G a little bit right there, we've got a couple clips from them coming in as well. They were most definitely on that bubble. If they didn't have this third game be a good game for them, it was not guaranteed that they were making it into our top 10.
And I love that Grim was able to laugh at himself there, getting punched out of the ring by Imperial Hal, but he still took it lightly because he knew at that point they were secured in. And, you know, it's great to see that Gen G are able to bounce back. You know, they haven't had the greatest of performance across the last few tournaments.
Here's the clip from Imperial Hal's perspective, and again, a punch into the Storm and someone dies after that. That was a crazy finish there, of course. We saw Grim miss a couple wingman shots. That's probably why he's laughing at himself. He could have secured that against Imperial Hal instead.
Circle, either they change their drop for maybe something more central so that they have the ability to rotate a little bit quicker perhaps, or whether they just stick with it and they hope for a better circle for them.
All questions that we will have to, of course, find answers for as we move through the matches here. We still have 2 more to go before we close out Group C and we find our top 10 who will be moving on to that winners bracket group. Some of the replays, of course, from the game that we just saw, and I think a lot of teams are kind of betted on maybe not the circle ending up where it was. They were kind of hoping for a run-off circle, as we saw a lot of players setting up camp, should we say, in these buildings. And then this is where the action really did break down. As soon as that circle did move towards that northwesterly point in the map into this little sewer trench here, that's where things really started to get interesting. Those forced rotations from the team as that ring collapsed. And then we just saw this carnage. I think we had about 4 or 5 teams drop within about 30 seconds of each other.
And I think the best thing about the final circle being here is you really get to witness the map design in all its greatness. When you walk through this area when you're looting, you're probably thinking, why on earth are there all these concrete slabs? They're so pointless, they're just blocking the way. This is why, in case there's a circle, so that people have something to duck behind and they have a little bit of cover so that we can get these kind of engagements. Also, really good effort from Lou from FlyQuest to try and get behind the team, slide away and survive.